Hey guys, what's up? It's the Culture Detective here, investigating your favorite albums. I don't have that much time today, so I'm gonna try my best to speed this up. Anyway, this will be another mini albums review video where I review multiple albums. Let's go! So there are a lot of albums that came out like a very long time ago, but I really wanted to talk about them. So let's start off with Kirin. I can't. Okay, I don't know why, but my hair's a mess. Anyway, let's start off with Kirin Callinan, who is an Australian singer-songwriter, a huge meme singer-songwriter. He dropped the album Bravado in the year 2017, and the track Big Enough somehow became a meme in 2017, which is fantastic. But me, my personal favorite Kirin Callinan song is Bravado, the title track. Anyway, let's talk about Return to Center. I still can't stand my hair. It looks so bad. It looks like a bird nest. I can't. So he's back with the album Return to Center, and this is actually a covers album. Every single song on this album is a cover song, but he did an amazing job on every single track, reinventing them, giving them their own spin. And also, this is a pretty funny album title because making this album, he used the guitars from Guitar Centers. He borrowed them, apparently, and then he returned them to the Guitar Center before its, due date or something. Its trial date. My hair's collapsing now. Fantastic. So it's called Return to Center. Anyway, the album starts off with Life is Life, which is completely different from the original. It's loud, it's dramatic, it's unapologetic. It has these really dramatic synth horns and these marchy drums, which builds up to this really ceremonial, celebratory tune that's pretty uplifting. And then we have the track The Homosexual, and I kind of understand why Kirin Callinan had picked this song. Why is this? Okay, there we go, that's better. And actually, I think it's really special how Kirin Callinan picked these specific songs to cover, because these songs are also songs that sound like it would come from Kirin Callinan's mouth. Anyway, the track Homosexual is actually pretty fantastic as well. It deals with the society's insecurities about, people with different sexual orientations. And I also really like the instrumentals. I really like the sleek, sad, finger-picked guitars. They are pretty amazing. And then we have the track The Whole of the Moon, which is a huge single. It's a pretty humble and sincere, but also powerful synth pop rock anthem. The vocals are really expressive and fantastic. They are fantastic. And I also really love the compelling drums and the wobbly guitars throughout the whole thing. This is literally one of the best songs of the year so far. And then we have the track It Takes a Muscle to Fall in Love, which is also one of my favorite tracks on the entire album. It's low-key, sexy, slick, and a little sinister. And I also really love the funky, skippy drums and the country guitar licks, which makes the song way more flavorful and fun. Then we have the track Pretty Boy, which has some somber pianos and deep vocals, which is faithful to the original. However, I feel like this track is a little more mundane and milder compared to other tracks on the album. Still, it's decent. We have the title track, which is just this weird, out of place noise track, almost ambient, but it's noise, and it just feels like it doesn't fit on the album at all because it's not really a song. But it's a little interlude track, and I appreciate what Kirin Callinan is trying to do for the track. And then we have the track Rise, which is a cover of the Public Image Limited song. And this song, again, Kirin Callinan put his own spin on the song, and he also kind of laced all these news audio clips all over the song because of this one time he flashed his dick in an award ceremony, and he got arrested, and the news were talking about him, so he put all these news clips all over the track. And but yeah, it's actually not an aggressive or bitter or angry song at all. It's very blissful, and it's a very uplifting folk rock tune with these really catchy group vocals. Then we have the track Signed a Curtain, which is also one of my favorite tracks on the entire album because the song is hilarious. The lyrics is quite literally, this is the first verse, this is the first verse, this is the chorus, or maybe this is the hook, and then this is the bridge, this is the second verse or the last verse. It's sort of a song that kind of pokes fun of itself, that kind of pokes fun at its structure, and instrumentally this song is fantastic as well. It has this, and instrumentally speaking, this song is fantastic as well. It has these loud, distorted, alt grunge rock guitar riffs which are just unapologetically loud and noisy, and we get these drum hits that are very constant, and overall it's just a really fun track. Then we have the track You Weren't in Love with Me, and it is not as loud or as colorful as the original. However, it's still pretty emotionally potent, and the album Ender Vienna is also a pretty emotionally potent ending that is okay. I kind of like the low-key guitars and the freaky percussions. However, it's not that colorful of a track. But still, I think overall this album is a great covers album, and I'm feeling an 8 out of 10 for the album. My favorite track here is The Hole of the Moon, and my least favorite is the title track. And then for the second album, I would like to talk about the self-titled album of Purple Mountains, which is an indie rock band, an indie country rock band, fronted by David Berman, rest in peace. And originally it's like a pretty good indie rock album. However, a couple of weeks after this album's release, David Berman took his own life, unfortunately, and I was incredibly saddened by it as well. And that incident put the whole album in a different context. And I'm glad that I'm reviewing it now, because if I reviewed it immediately after its release, I wouldn't have appreciated more. But yeah, rest in peace, David Berman. David Berman was also in a band called Silver Jews in the late 90s and early 2000s. And it's also an indie rock band that had came out with some great records. But he kind of took a hiatus, a very long hiatus in fact, and now he sort of returned as the frontman of Purple Mountains. And yes, this album is incredibly sad and depressing, especially when you look at the lyrics. And instrumentally speaking, they are some very depressing, but not necessarily heavy-hearted indie folk country guitar jams. We have the album opener, That's Just the Way I Feel, which is this jaunty alt country rock tune, which is a little lighthearted, but then again, if you look at the lyrics, it says otherwise. We have David Berman sort of giving us an update on where he is now, saying that he is the same old wreck. The track All My Happiness Is Gone is even more depressing, with these sad pianos and these blissful and nostalgic strings. However, even though the lyrics aren't that profound or deep, I really get the sentiment of the song. I really see how the instrumentals and the lyrics sort of work together to make it even more sad and depressing of an experience. And we also have the track Darkness and Cold, which is also incredibly depressing. It's similar to the previous track, except it's a little slower and the strings are a little more fluid. And we have David Berman singing Light of My Life Is Going Out Tonight in the chorus, and it's like maybe a person he loves, a person, maybe his own wife, is going out tonight with someone she just met. So maybe his wife is cheating on him, or maybe his wife just, doesn't want to be with him and wants to be her own friends maybe. But whatever the case may be, in his position, he feels incredibly alone and incredibly left out. And it's a feeling that I think I really relate to, even though I do not have a romantic relationship yet. And then we have the track Snow is Falling in Manhattan, and it's one of the weaker tracks on the album instrumentally. It's very washed out and reverby, maybe a little too washed out for its own good. But in a way, because it's so reverby and washed out, I like how lost it sounds. It sounds like it's lost in its own sadness. It's drunken in its own emptiness, and it's a very bad feeling. We have the track Margaritas at the Mall, which is probably the catchiest track on the entire record. The guitars are incredibly downtrodden and sad, and we also get these really dark horns in the chorus. And I also really love the driving beat and the compelling rhythm of the song. And on this track, David really expressed his helplessness, and he kind of talked about the inaction of God, if there is a God. And it's really one of the saddest moments on the entire record. We have the track She's Making Friends, I'm Turning Stranger, which shares a similar concept with Darkness and Cold. And again, the guitars are solid. Maybe it's a little optimistic, but then again, it has this depressing flair to it, which I really love. And also, David talks about how the people he knows are becoming more and more popular, while he himself is becoming more and more stranger to the world, becoming more and more alienated and alone. And again, it's another feeling that I think I really relate to. I think I really understand. And while listening to the song, I really get kind of teary because I kind of see myself in his lyrics, and it's just incredibly sad. We have the track I Love Being My Mother's Son, and it's sort of like a last ode to his mom. And the guitars are really dreamy, they're really lost and psychedelic, and the chorus is really warm and beautiful. And in the chorus, David constantly repeats, she was, kind of indicating that his mom has passed away, and it's meant a great deal for him. It had put a lot of pain on him. We have the track Nights That Won't Happen. It's the longest track on the album, and this is an incredibly haunting and chilling track about death. The instrumentals are way more ethereal, way more light, but the vocals are steadier and maybe a little tearier as well, because on the song it sounds like David Berman is about to tear up while singing the song. And now that David Berman has passed away, again, this song, it just hurts to listen to the song and look at the lyrics and see what David Berman was going before, this album came out. And then we have the track Storyline Fever, which is a rather more straightforward track. It has these uplifting and solid guitar riffs that are a little low-key, and it's a pretty decent track. And the album ending is Maybe I'm the Only One for Me. And instrumentally, it's a pretty nice southern country rock tune, but the lyrics are way more heavy-hearted than I have imagined. I put my dreams high on a shelf. I'll have to learn to like myself. And we also have lyrics like, no one's fond of fucking me. Maybe it's because no one's fucking fond of me. Which is actually really, really smart, but also really, really sad. And in a way that I can relate to. Again, I don't want to talk too much about myself here, but when I listen to this line in the song, I kind of see myself, in a community where a lot of people around me, people who are considered, closer to me, are already fucking because they're in, nice romantic relationships, but I'm the only person who's being left alone in the middle, and it's just a feeling that you don't want to have because it's just really bad. It just sucks the life force out of you. And yeah, again, it's an incredibly depressing indie rock album. I think every single track is decent, at least. Some tracks are really great, really fantastic. The lyrics are well written, they're sad, they're poignant at times, and the instrumentals are just beautifully depressing and sweetly sad. I am giving it an 8 out of 10 as well, a strong 8. My favorite track is Margaritas at the Mall, and my least favorite is Snow is Falling in Manhattan. Up next, we have Uboa with The Origin of My Depression. This is going to be a really depressing video. So Uboa is Zandra Metcalf, who is an experimental noise, drone, industrial, ambient music artist. And we have The Origin of My Depression. And it's an ambient noise, drone, industrial record. And it's incredibly dark. The record starts off with these sparse piano notes being played and her vocals being very aimless on top, which feels kind of aimless at first, but later the instrumentals swell and the noise started to creep up from underneath, and it becomes a very, I wouldn't say horrifying, but definitely overwhelming wall of noise that just leads into the title track. And it's a very great album opener in my opinion. And then we have the title track, which is just stunning. It's been a while since I have appreciated ambient music so much. So at first we get her taking a breath, like a deep breath, and then we just plunge into this moody, strange, otherworldly ambient backdrop, which is just very very odd. I wouldn't say depressing, but I would say it gives off such a mood. It's like we're going through this ethereal space where there are these gray clouds just blocking my vision, and wherever I go, it's this thick air that's constantly pressurizing me. It's like I'm slowly levitating and gliding through this very long, eternal, great hall, and it's pretty dark, and also it puts you in a lonely place. It's like we're being put into this zone where all of our painful memories in our lives are being scattered all over the empty space, and we're just gliding through it and watching it as it all replays itself at once. And then as the song progresses, it gets noisier and noisier. We get these shuffly noises, crushing noises, and it gets a little scary even. And then we get Zandra's commentary, and she kind of whispers, "Love is not the origin of my depression. Socially awkward interactions are not the origin of my depression. You," and then she chuckles, "is not the origin of my depression." And then suddenly she screams. She just breaks, and it's this really noisy, harsh, tortured scream. And man. Then we have the next track, Lay Down and Rot, and it's really, really noisy. It's even noisier, and the soundscape is even darker and more unsettling. And at the end, she screams again, except this time it's even more sadistic, because she screams as if she had already taken this pain and this agony for granted. It's like it's a part of her life now. It's part of her perception of life now. Then we have the track Epilation Joy, which has this euphoric start with some organic instrumentals. It feels really lost, really lonely, really alienating. And again, as the song progresses, it gets a little noisier bit by bit. We get these dangly keys all over the place as well, which I think is incredibly beautiful. We have the track Please Don't Leave Me. And my goodness, this is the most monstrous track here. In only 1 minute and 53 seconds long, this track put us in a torture chamber where we are just being tortured and abused by these incredibly harsh noises. In the beginning of the track, she sort of gasps. It's like she just woke up from a dream and now she's in this harsh thing called reality, this dark, cruel, disgusting filth that is reality. And it's scary. It's really scary. It's noisy, it's nasty, it's explosive, and at the end of the track it just gets worse and worse. It has these loud drony guitars which are just very tortured, and then we get the screams which becomes kind of uniform. At first it feels irregular, but at the end it's like constant screaming, and again it sounds like this pain of hers has become a normal part of her life that she had to endure when she's living. And then we have an angel of great and terrible light, and it has a constantly pounding drum beat, and it has these guitars which are really clear, and it kind of reminds me of Swan's Helpless Child for some reason because of how sad and not downtrodden, but sort of just depressed it is. And then as the song progresses, it gets more and more deafening, more and more emotionally potent, and it gets kind of powerful. And then we have the track Misspent Youth, which is over 10 minutes long, and it's an incredibly spacey and somber track that feels kind of aimless. I love how the performance is very lost, but I love how the performance feels kind of lost and the bass is kind of roaring. However, the ending just fades and it becomes kind of aimless, and it's kind of like the opening of Detransitioning, the album opener, except it's very drawn out. But still, it is an incredible ambient drone noise record that is not for the faint of heart. I'm giving it an 8 out of 10 as well. My favorite track here is the title track. My least favorite is Misspent Youth. Up next, I would like to talk about an album that I would never expect myself to listen to, but here I am. So it is the Polish black metal band Batushka with Panihida. And hopefully I'm not butchering any of the pronunciations. And apparently there is a schism in Batushka because we have the OG person who started Batushka, and that OG person hired another person to be in his band, and that other person decided to form another band called Batushka without the OG guy's permission. And that OG person is Krzysztof Drabikowski. And so we have 2 Batushka albums this year. One is Panihida, one is Hospodi. And I'm going to talk about the OG Batushka's Panihida. And essentially this is a black metal album, and all these tracks are untitled. They're called Ode 1, Ode 2, Ode 3, all the way to 8, and all of them sound really similar with these very sound-rich, loud, and epic guitars, these really fast drums which constantly change from regular drum beat to blast beat straight up. And every single song sounds kind of similar. So to me, it sounds like one big song that is 40-something minutes long. There are some standout, of course. Odes 1 and 8 are more powerful and it has more of a progressive vibe to them. Ode 2 is a straight up rager, and we have Ode 3, which has more of a chill atmospheric start. Ode 4 has some nice scratchy guitar riffs that are clearer than many other riffs in the album, which are just buried in the production itself because there are just so many layers of reverbed guitars. And Ode 5 is pretty melodic. I also really like Ode 5. But overall, I see this album as one giant song, and it's an incredibly well-performed and solid meat and potatoes black metal album with a really nice orthodox Christian edge to it. I also really like that on various points on the album, there are these almost gospel chants in the back, which is a pretty special and unique production choice. And overall, I kind of enjoy the album. It's not great, but it's still really solid. I'm feeling a 7 out of 10 for Panihida, or Panihida. After that, I'm going to talk about Madonna's Madam X. And this album is it's not good. It's not good. Madonna is one of the most influential pop stars ever, period. We have songs like a Prayer. We have songs like a Virgin. We have songs like Vogue, which I think are all fantastic. And now she's still making music. And it sucks. Well, basically on this album, she tries her hands on some Latin pop music because everybody's crazy about Latin pop music right now. So she has to do it to grab some cash, I guess. Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Madonna is making this kind of music because she really has a passion for making Latin pop music. Then in that case, Madonna sucks as a musician because all the Latin pop songs on this album sounds like gentrified garbage. Anyway, the album starts off with a Latin wave pop tune called Medellin. And again, sounds like gentrified garbage. And throughout the entire album, Madonna's vocals are auto-tuned. And she sings in such a monotone and one-dimensional manner. She sounds like a literal robot. And the vocals just suck. They suck really bad. And with such robotic and annoying vocals, it's kind of hard to take Madonna seriously. Especially when Madonna is trying to be, edgy and deep and woke on the album. I just can't take it seriously. I legitimately laughed when I listened to this album. But yeah, Medellin is straight up one of the worst songs of the year so far. The production is incredibly lackluster. The vocal melodies are goofy, they are strange, and they don't fit well together. The track Dark Ballet is just a pure train wreck. Again, it's weird, it's lackluster, it tries to be edgy and deep, saying, your world is full of greed, your world is full of lies, but it means bullshit. Madonna doesn't say anything else beyond that, The pianos, they sound robotic, they sound rigid, the beat is mixed way too loud, and it's overshadowing the vocals and any other instrumentals. And then after the halfway point on the track, it suddenly breaks down into Tchaikovsky's Nutcracker, except it's compressed into this ugly mess, and we have Madonna sort of delivering a spoken word passage on top of it. And it's garbage. It's garbage. Like, it's laughably garbage. Like, I know she's trying to do this artsy thing, but it just falls flat on her own face. We have the track God Control, which starts off with this slow emotional ballad, which I completely don't care for. However, about 1 minute into the track, it melts into this disco dance beat, this 70s disco instrumental, and it's actually pretty pleasant. We also get some cheeky, tongue-in-cheek delivery from Madonna, which I think aren't all that terrible in comparison. So I guess this is one of the better tracks. We have the track Future featuring Quavo. I know, right? Like, you know, like Madonna could make a song called Quavo featuring Future, and it would probably sound like the same thing. And I don't even understand why, because this song is yet another boring, gentrified Latin wave pop tune that makes zero sense whatsoever. We have the track Batushka. Oh gosh, and it's disgusting. It's a disgusting song where Madonna sings like one line, and this group of singers respond to her with another line, and it just keeps going back and forth for like 4 minutes. It's just terrible. We have Killers Who Are Partying, which has these weird-ass lyrics about child exploitation, but then again, Madonna says nothing profound and deep about it, and overall, it's such a boring and uneventful song. We have the track Crave featuring Sway Lee, and to be honest, Sway Lee is not that bad. But then again, Madonna's performance sucks. The guitars, they are very corny, and the lyrics, again, Madonna tries to be, kind of edgy and deep, and it totally falls flat. She keeps on repeating, my cravings are dangerous, my cravings are dangerous. So what then? Don't crave then. Then we have the track Crazy, which is unnecessarily blissful. It's basically a half Spanish, half English song, and it's another super generic, gentrified, Latin pop inspired song. The track Come Alive has these really annoying skippy cowbells throughout the entire duration of the song. It's obnoxious. It's really vomit-inducing. And then we have the vocals, which are bad. It sounds like a really sloppy Irish like folk tune, like Madonna is trying on some Celtic folk now. We have the track Extreme Occident, and it's another really boring and uneventful pop song with these drums that are similar to like drums from a Tool song, like the Danny Carey kind of drums. And then we have the track Faz Gostoso, and it's another Latin pop tune that feels incredibly bland, and it's Madonna basically does her best Shakira impression on the track. We have the track I Don't Search, I Find, which is what kind of song title is this? Searching and finding is literally the same thing, right? Anyway, it's another uneventful and bland song, and it tries to do this 70s disco thing, similar to the track Got Control, except it's even blander, even more one-dimensional, and even more unlikable. And the album ends off with I Rise, which is another really uneventful and tasteless track. So yeah, overall, this album is either cringy, or it's boring, or it could be hilariously bad. And that's what's this album. I kind of appreciate that Madonna is trying to be ambitious on the album with a lot of weird artistic choices, but it's just not for me. I just can't take this album seriously. The vocals are terrible. I am feeling a strong 2 to a 3 for the album. Okay. And then at the end, I'm going to talk about Pierre Bourne with The Life of Pierre 4. And it's another album that I don't want to talk about for too much, because this album is basically a very boring trap, rap, singing album. And every single song sounds kind of the same. This album really disappoints me because Pierre Bourne is the producer of Playboi Carti's Die Lit, which isn't a bad album at all. But Pierre Bourne on this album, on his own solo project, manages to make his style and his production even more diluted and even more uninteresting. Like, seriously, every single song sounds like an average generic trap rap / trap singing song. It's like, it's just so boring. I guess the track Poof, which is the album opener, it's a little catchy. Maybe it's because it's the album opener and it leaves a stronger impression on me. And I guess the track Try Again is okay. The track Romeo Must Die has some string samples, which is, I guess, a standout in front of a sea of wasteland, of basic trap beats. The track Racer has an interesting concept. On the track Horoscope, Pierre Bourne is a little more energetic and excited than other tracks because he has these oh my god ad libs. We have the track Juice, where we actually hear some rapping from Pierre Bourne, and we have the track Speed Dial, which is a pretty sweet song, where he kind of talks about how he calls his grandma and he's happy about it or something. But yeah, whatever the case may be, I still think this album is incredibly boring, incredibly uninspired, and incredibly uninteresting. I am feeling a 3 out of 10 for the album. My favorite song here is Juice. My least favorite is I don't know. I don't know. So, what are your thoughts on these albums from 1 to 10? How much did you rate them? Like if you like them, hate if you hate them, and subscribe if you want more. And thanks for watching. Bye.